What's up everybody, Fortexfiend here, and welcome back again to another video on SD Gundam G Generation Eternal, where in this video, I'm going to be showcasing yet again another one of those free SSR development units, because they are a ton of fun to build, and there's just so many of them, and honestly, if you take the time to build one of them, getting them fully max limit broken and all that, they're actually very viable free units. But before we go ahead and talk about that, I just want to remind you guys that if you enjoy what you see on my YouTube channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you're not missing out on future uploads, leave a like or dislike on this video, and comment down below on this video which development units have you actually built and are enjoying a lot, because all these free units, honestly, especially the SSRs, they could be very viable, especially like in specific situations. But the one that I'm going to be talking about here is going to be part of the SEED Destiny development line, which is one of the newer storylines on top of Char's counterattack, and that is going to be none other than Destroy Gundam. Now, don't judge me, I understand that mine's only has one limit break. I've been trying to farm the technical journals for this, and unfortunately, because SEED Destiny only has one hard stage, and there's also two other technical journals there that you could farm on top of this one. It has a lot of competition, and so I'm trying to get this thing max limit broken. But what I did do is I did get it to level 100 with SP conversion, because I actually really like this thing. Look how imposing it looks. It looks really imposing. I like those wings that they gave it in the back. It looks like wings to me, which I think looks super cool. It has those cannons on the back, and when you see this thing on the map, it's actually big because it is part of the large machine tag, and it just looks super imposing and super cool. For a unit. Now, in terms of its stats, its HP is pretty solid, it has good energy, and its attack is actually pretty respectable for a supporter type unit. When this thing actually has 3 max limit break, it's a little over 9,000, which for a supporting unit, that's actually not bad. Its movement could be better. It's only at 4, unfortunately, so I think the movement could have at least been at 5, but, you know, can't have everything right, and it is a large machine, so it kind of makes sense. Terrain capability, it is, pretty standard. It can function in space, it can function on land, and it can only function halfway, underwater. It does have mechanisms. It does have that ever so useful shield defense, so it already has a form of damage mitigation right there, which I like, and it also does have transform. However, while I do think its transformed version looks cool, and it also does gain access to aerial combat and also, sea combat, the only thing that I don't like about it is that if you take a look at its weapon skills, they're not as good, and they also don't have the debuffs that its other form has. So you could use it in this form, but in my opinion, this one is a lot better. You're going to be using it in this form a whole lot more. Speaking of its weapon skills, it has a map attack, which I love map attacks. It's at 3840, which the power is all right, I would say. However, it does have absolute hit, so enemies can't evade this. And it does have defense down 20%, which it will inflict on all enemies that it hits, and if they happen to survive, which more than likely, because this is a supporting unit, it's going to survive. Now, I understand that 20% defense down is not as good as like a singular target defense down debuff. However, it targets multiple enemies, and if you could inflict multiple defense downs on enemies, that actually is pretty helpful in my opinion. And then it does have detachable arm beam, which is a range attack, so does have a range of 4. There is no effect on this, and at level 5, the power on this is a little over 4,500. It's just a standard attack. It's a low energy cost, so if you're trying to be energy efficient with this, or let's say like if you're counter-attacking or something like that, you could opt to use this. However, the skill that you're probably going to be using a lot with this unit, it's going to be his other barrage skill, which is a single target range attack at 4 range. This one has a 5,400 power. It does cost a little bit more than its second ability. However, it does have that debuff of inflicting a special weapons damage up by 30%. Not as good as a UR supporter, but that is still very good for a free supporter unit. And a lot of the powerful UR attackers, especially with their EX skills, a lot of them are actually special weapons. So this complements a lot of units that you probably are already using that you pulled from the gacha. So all in all, I think what it has with its weapons is really, really good. In terms of its abilities, it has increased max energy. It has Positron Reflector, which whenever it takes damage that is 4,000 or less, there is no effect. So another form of mitigation, and it does have variable phase shift armor level 3, which reduces incoming enemy physical attacks by 30%. So this can go hand in hand with with its shield defend, and you could potentially take that 4,000 or less, which means you take 0. Now with harder stages, you probably are not going to be relying on Positron Reflector, and truth be told, you don't want this thing to get hit regardless, but it does have mitigation, which I think is really, really cool. So it allows it to potentially survive a little bit longer compared to some other units. Now, in terms of its tags, what I see right here is Alternative Series. It has Gundam, it has Mobile Armor, it has Large Machine. However, the one that stands out to me the most is going to be Unstoppable, because we do have some really good UR Unstoppable warships. So if you happen to have pulled those UR warships for the Unstoppable tag, this unit fits in well with that type of a team. And then it also has SEED Series, so there's a lot of flexibility on where you can take this unit, especially when it comes to stages like Eternal Road. So all in all, I think this is a great unit to consider building, especially if you're lacking some supporters. If you're a newer player that just started playing the game and you finally unlock SEED Destiny, I think this is a unit that's worth checking out. I actually really like this unit. I know there's other SSR development units that you guys can consider building. This one stood out for me, and this is the one that I personally want to showcase and also want to personally recommend to you guys. Now, in terms of pilots, so if you're going to use a UR pilot with this, for me personally, the best one is probably either going to be Shin Asuka or it's going to be Kira Yamato. But if you want a little bit more oomph with your damage and you want to use a UR pilot, Asuna or Optimus Shiroko are also really, really strong candidates for being like your UR supporter. But however, if you are looking for an SSR pilot to use with this, the best one, hands down, is probably going to be Lunamaria Hawke. The reason why is because she does have that series condition where if she's piloting a unit from Mobile Suit Gundam SEED Destiny, then she does get an additional counter attack. And as we can see right here, Destroy Gundam is a part of that particular tag. So in terms of like a Gacha SSR pilot, I think Lunamaria Hawke is going to be your best candidate. Now, in terms of a free-to-play, this one was a little bit tricky for me to find because the only other like Gundam SEED free supporter unit that we got is Guy. But Guy, you can't really take advantage of his EX affinity right there, with Mercenary, because Destroy Gundam doesn't have it. But he's a decent option. However, one that I actually found that could potentially work better is probably going to be Shuji, just for the stats and all that. You still won't get that double support, unfortunately, but Shuji, I think, is going to be a solid free-to-play option. But for free-to-play options, you guys let me know what you think works best for Destroy Gundam. I think for me to toss up between Guy and Shuji, but if you think other pilots, like for example Xavier or even the free Catra could work, let me know in the comment section below. But all in all, I think Destroy Gundam, let's go back to it right here. Here we go. I think it's a really, really cool pick for a potential like full MLB, obviously, and also an SP conversion for a free SSR unit. I think it looks super cool. It looks imposing. Its attack animations are actually pretty fun to watch, in my opinion. They're very fast and just very sleek. And we'll get to that when I do like a little showcase here, doing like a solo run on one of the hard story stages with this unit. But let me know what you guys think down below about this unit. Let me know if you guys have already built it, or which SSR development unit have you fully built and SP converted and are having absolute fun with. I'd love to hear all of it. Thank you guys again for watching. Stay tuned for the next video and stay blessed, everybody.
I don't even want to know.